Welcome back, everyone. We have a great guest. We got Cone from Sum 41. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Well, let's get into this. Sum 41 has just released their eighth studio record. With you guys releasing Heaven and Hell, how has your writing and recording approach changed since Killer No Fillers in 2001?
Well, this one was way different because of the pandemic, and I'm sure a lot of bands have probably talked about this, but we couldn't get together on this one, which was a little bit of a bummer. Like we're kind of used to hunkering down in a studio together for a couple months and just like recording and hanging out and going over ideas together. So obviously this time we couldn't do it. So it was definitely a different process of like sharing files on the internet, recording. Luckily nowadays there's great software out there that you can actually like record together on the internet like in real time, which is like kind of mind blowing to be able to do that. So that's kind of what we had. We had this program going where I could record bass. You could have like our co-producer Mike Green on the other end, kind of like listening in and going over stuff with me. So it was different for sure. I would probably choose the like studio approach if we could, but since we couldn't, this was kind of the next best option. All Killer No Filler. Obviously, we were young and recording all together with our producer Jerry Finn. So it's completely different experience.
And from going digital to, I'm guessing it was all tape back then. That must have been crazy too. Like completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Um,
we actually used tape like right up until like Underclass Hero.
yeah.
We recorded drums to tape. So yeah, we were using a lot of tape back then. Back in the early days.
Yeah. Do you ever miss that, or do you prefer digital compared to back then?
I think for me, I don't. It's not a big deal for me either way. Like I
Mhm.
know the benefits of tape, but I also know now the benefits of Pro Tools.
Yeah.
So both have the benefits, and I'm not really that guy to sit there and go like, well, listen to the drums on tape and listen to them on Pro Tools. That's for like our producer to decide. So that's
Yeah.
basically, Derek produces a lot of our albums now, most of our albums in the last few anyway. So that's something that they decide, and they kind of have to like nitpick about like what sounds better. And I think Pro Tools has come such a long way that
Mhm.
I really wouldn't be able to tell the difference probably.
That's pretty cool. And with this record, you guys did 20 tracks. What made you guys want to do 20 tracks? And were any of these like old songs that you guys reworked?
Yeah, well, 20 tracks because we were recording this album in a way of not recording it for an album. It was kind of like this mindset of we have 2 years off. Let's just record some songs. And
Yeah.
some of the songs were obviously like kind of in that more pop punk vein. Some of them were
Mhm.
heavier, so it was kind of like we're just recording all this stuff and not knowing what we're going to do with it. And then obviously
Yeah.
when it was all done, like when we decided, wow, we really recorded 22 songs, and we are like, wow, are we gonna like not put some of these on because we kind of like them all? And then the
Yeah.
idea came up about we all had this, simultaneously idea of doing a double album.
Yeah.
So that's where that idea came from. And yeah, there is some old songs like uh, the names now, but House of Liars, I believe. That song is from the Scream Bloody Murder album. Like we worked on
Mm.
that way back in 2010. Just
That's
never made any album. I think what it was I don't think Derek was really happy about the chorus back then. So I think he just hung on to it, and we decided not to put it on any album. And I think on this
mm,
album, he just, he reworked the chorus a little bit to the point where he felt like he liked the melody and all that kind of stuff.
mm.
Um, there's another one. I mean, yeah, there's a couple songs that were like just hanging around forever. There's a song. Um, Hold on one second. There's so many songs on this album that anyway
Yeah.
doesn't matter. There's a song. Yeah, there's a song. It's all me. That song is from. I want to say that's kind of from like our Chuck days.
Dang.
Like it's so some songs have been like hanging around forever. But yeah, it's nice that they finally saw the light of day.
With you guys coming to an end, talking about being your last tour, do you guys have any archive music that you guys plan to release, even though you guys are planning not to tour anymore?
Yeah, there is songs, like, there's a couple songs, like, that didn't even make Heaven and Hell.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think we recorded 22 or 23 songs, and there's only 20 on the album. There's a couple songs that I know of that didn't make it. There's also a acoustic version of "With Me," like a song from Underclass Hero that we've recorded, and it's the way we play it live.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know where that stands actually, because I would love to record that version of "With Me" because it's kind of the way that we do it live, and I know that people have been asking for that version, and we do
Yeah.
have it recorded. There's also we do a cover of Queen's "We Will Rock You," but it's like
Mhm.
very sped up. It's the way Queen used to do it in their encore sometimes. Like they'd come out and do like kind of a sped up version of "We Will Rock You" in their encore, and we do that version live as
Mhm.
well. We've recorded that as well, so there there could be some releases after we're done for sure. I hope.
That'd be cool, cause I would assume you guys like, you're talking about old music that you guys already recorded. I'm assuming you guys have a lot of archive stuff being a band for over 20 years, so it'd suck for those never see the light of day, you know? That would suck.
Yeah, I mean, we used to be the band that like every song that we worked on and demoed and did pre-production for it, those were the songs that went on the album. We never ever had extra songs ever. It was just like,
Mhm.
okay, we have nine songs. Okay, we need a couple more. Let's do a couple more. And then that was it. We never had like B-sides or bonus tracks until probably I guess Chuck, we did have one that was like, but it was a movie soundtrack song. And then I think eventually through Underclass Hero and later albums, we just ended up having a couple more songs. But in the early days, it was never, we never had enough songs. So it was never any bonus songs.
Dang, that's crazy, man. And you've been in the band since, '99. How had your gear changed over the years?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I first joined Sum 41, started playing, I had a jazz bass
Mm.
and I thought I liked it. And, I had a big 80s SVT. But it wasn't until we recorded All Killer No Filler with Jerry Fick. He had this 1962 Fender P bass reissue, and so we recorded the album with that. And then after that, and he was like, you should really get one of these. This is kind of the sound for this kind of music.
Yeah.
I was 19 or 20 at the time, I guess, and I didn't really know too much about gear at the time. So I just took his word for it, and I bought basically the same one he had, just in a different color. And that
Mhm.
that was kind of my touring bass for a long time until I realized I really liked it, and I really loved the way it sounded, and it really sounded good. So I kept that one at home, which is back here somewhere. Um, and that's just been my recording bass since that album. Like I've recorded that bass for every single Sum 41
Mm,
album, minus All Killer No Filler and Half Hour Power. Everything forward has been on that bass. So I don't want to
that's
bring it on the
crazy.
road because I'm afraid it's going to get ruined.
That makes sense.
So that's kind of it. And then he introduced us to a DI way back then called the Evil Twin, and which is
Yeah.
right there too. And there was years and years and years where the guy never made them again, so they were very rare and you couldn't find them. I know Derek, I think, has two, and I have one. I've been still searching for a backup, but he introduced us to this DI, and I think it's the best DI ever made. And unfortunately, I
Yeah.
think maybe he'll make them again on a special order.
That'd be
Uh,
cool.
but yeah, I try and baby this thing because I can't find another one, and even if you open up the insides of it, he has it all shrunk, like it's
Aw.
shrink wrapped, and you can't see what he's done to it. Like it's all secret inside, and I don't want
That
to
sounds
even
like it.
fuck with it. So I just leave it, and yeah, I'm still trying to find a backup.
Dang, that's crazy to have it all secretive, and if you do take it apart, it might, like, explode or something crazy, you know? That sucks.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin it in any way. Something you might open it and everything just falls apart or something. Then
Yeah,
it's like this.
dang. And, so with you being in this band for quite a while, is there any bands you wish you toured with that you guys never got to?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, No Effects would have been one,
Mhm.
Rancid would have been one. I mean, we did play with those bands. Obviously,
Yeah,
we've played at festivals with them. We did
of
Warp
course.
Tour with Rancid. We've done Warp Tour shows with No Effects and stuff like that, but we've never like done proper tours with those kind of bands.
Dang.
Um, we've done festivals with Metallica. That would have probably been a hard tour for us to tour on if we actually did a Metallica tour. We might get shit on for that, but yeah, those kind of bands. There's a lot more. Obviously, I remember we did a week in the U.S. with Social Distortion when we were
Mhm.
on our first album, Half Hour Power, and that was cool. And I wish we could have done like more with Social Distortion because that's kind of a favorite of at least Derek and I. Yeah, there's quite a bit. We've done festivals with Iron Maiden, which has been
Yeah.
amazing. Um, yeah, there's all those like kind of punk bands too that we grew up on, that we didn't get to do like proper tours with, but we've pretty much played with everyone, well, mostly everyone that we've really loved through our
Yeah.
youth at a festival or another.
That's pretty cool. I think you guys would have made it on a Metallica one. If Ice Nine Kills can do it, I think you guys can do it. I mean, because they're kind of like they're
Yeah,
a great band, but they're a little poppy, you know? And you guys are poppy. I think you guys would have made it. I don't.
yeah. I
I
mean,
think
any
the fans
band.
would have accepted it.
Yeah, it's possible. I feel like if doing a opening for Metallica, people just are waiting for Metallica. It's a hard one because no matter who you are, it doesn't matter if you're the best band in the world. People are waiting for
Of
Metallica. So,
course, that's true. And then from touring over the years, is there stuff you still learn from the bands you currently tour with?
oh yeah, there's a band. Well, yeah, many things all the time because we just did a tour in the U.S. and the Interrupters were our main support, and then the opening
Yeah.
band was like kind of a more of a hip hop, old '80s style hip hop group called Joey Valence and Bray. And watching the Interrupters, just the way they operate, they're always in such a great mood, and they're obviously like they're a family band, like they're all related in one way or another. They just have such a great disposition about them. They just are in a good mood, and they're having fun all the time. Same as Joey Valence and Bray. They're young. I mean, Joey Valence and Bray, they're 25-year-olds. So it's really refreshing to be around people like that, where they're there to have fun, and they're
Mhm.
still. I mean, Joey Valence, right? They're new, so they're excited about everything. They're excited about every show, every town they're going to. So I love being around bands like that are just
Mhm.
like it's like I said, it's like so refreshing. And it's not that
Mhm.
we're old and bitter now. It's just we have been to all these cities so
Yeah.
many times that it becomes just like, oh, we're going to Pittsburgh again, we're going to
Yeah.
Chicago again, and we love Chicago, we love all these cities, but we've been there a lot, so it's cool to see these groups like Joey Valence and Bray like be excited and be hungry and be wanting to go do stuff. And yeah, it's awesome. And like I said, the Interrupters too, just a great. They're just fun to be around, and they're very nice, and everything's just good. It's a good feeling to be around that.
Is there any advice you give these newer bands that you bring out that because you've already done it for years now, you know?
I try and get advice from them. It's no, I mean with new bands, it's I mean, there's no real advice for those kind of bands because they're doing it right. It's like
Yeah.
there's nothing I could tell Joey Valance and Bray that they don't already know or they're not already doing. They're playing a lot, they're having fun, they're writing good songs, they're keeping it like I appreciate that they're keeping it independent too. Like they've been approached by record labels and they're not biting on any record labels. They want to
Mhm.
be stay independent, and that's really admirable. Same as Interrupters. Like it's like just they're both doing it right. So there's nothing that I could say um, that I need to say to them. I kind of want to see how they're doing it, like as a
Right.
new band.
Seeing bands like that and seeing how you guys kind of jumped at a record deal so early in your guys' career, do you kind of wish that you guys would have stayed independent compared to jumping on something like that?
I don't think so at the time. I think at the time we found a label that we were really really comfortable with,
Yeah.
Island Def Jam at the time, and I think the comfort was so strong with them that we were really into signing with them. Like we
Mhm.
were so young and so green, but we could just tell that they were good people at that label at the time, and our team was so good that yeah, I don't think there was any talk of, well, maybe we shouldn't go to a major, we should go to an indie. I mean, a lot of indies passed on us.
Dang, that's
Um,
crazy.
Early on. So we almost would have ended up on an indie had like any indies bit on us. But it was in the early days, it was very hard. Like no one wanted Sum 41 until everybody wanted Sum 41. It was
Yeah.
like it was overnight. It was kind of like it was wild. So yeah, no, I think I still think we made the right choice to go with Island Def Jam, and our career probably would have been a lot different had we not.
I feel like the independence one, like the independent record labels, like probably regret passing on you guys with all the songs that still to this day are relevant. You know, it's crazy how your guys' music's still relevant after 20 years. You know.
Yeah, no, it's I would have never thought that back then. It's just, back then when you're a teenager and you're making music, you just make it for that time. That's it. You
Mhm.
make it for that moment. To have people still be into it this far in is it's nuts. Yeah.
I feel like at that time, because I grew up with you guys were the only band that came out with attitude compared to Blink 182 and Bowling for Soup, and they were just poppy and silly. You guys like had your attitude, and like that's what I think what drove you guys to have like such a big career. You didn't see that out there at that time, you know? In my opinion.
Yeah, I think those bands had their own thing.
Mhm.
And obviously they both did really well. They
Yeah.
Bowling for Soup is more of like they lean into the comedy a lot,
Mhm.
and Blink did in the early days too. We were kind of a little bit different, whereas like our comedy was more off stage.
Yeah.
Um, our but we didn't have a lot of comedy in our music like those bands did. So we were just a little bit different. We were really into like more serious music, I guess, and our silliness was all off stage.
I mean, the only silliness you guys kinda had maybe was in your music videos, because like Into Deep or the Hell Song. But those were like as a kid, you're like, "Dude, they're so cool. Oh my god," you know? Like, it wasn't really that silly, but it you look at it now, it's kinda silly, you know? But in my
Yeah, I
opinion.
mean, and music videos in a way, like music videos are basically a advertisement or a commercial for your
Mhm.
song. And so
Oh, yeah.
we always looked at it as like how can we get as many people to listen to our song as possible if we make a ridiculous video like In Too Deep or Hell Song or the intro of Still Waiting. Maybe people listen to this song then, because it's really just like a music video. It's just a tool for people to.
Yeah.
It's an advertisement for your song. So it's like,
I
how do we
agree.
get people to listen to this song? Well, we make a ridiculous music video.
I know, like, watching those videos, you guys had, like, your guys' own thing, like, in Too Deep, you guys are walking in with, you know, the bathrobes. Do you have any stuff like that you kept over the years, or did you lose it over the years?
Uh, that robe from In Too Deep is around somewhere. I think I gave it to my mom. I believe she probably still has it. Yeah, there's little things around my house that I find in like boxes that I'm like, oh, that you know, that thing. But unfortunately, yeah, there's some stuff that I don't have. Like I wish I would have had my little action figure from the Hell Song. I don't know where that
Yeah,
is. At the time, you don't really think about stuff like that. Like I should keep that stuff. You don't, because you don't really understand what it could turn into. Like how that
yeah.
that Hell Song video turned into such a video that everyone still talks about today. Like it was
Mhm.
a super cheap music video that got nominated for an MTV award somehow. And like, at the time you're like, you don't really understand that that could happen. So you don't even care about that little action figure
Yeah.
probably got tossed in the garbage.
With that song, like, whose action figures were there? There's so many, and was there any, like, legal licensing problems with that? Because you guys had Korn action figures, you had Kiss ones, you had Metallica. Did you get any trouble at all, or
Well, we had to get approval by every single person that was in it. So like
Mhm.
every action figure, whether it was Kiss or Metallica, they all have to say yes. We okay to be in some 41's video. There's actually some people that said no.
Dang.
I believe Eminem said no. He didn't want to be in the video. And I'm not sure that Eminem said no, but
Yeah.
we got word back that we weren't allowed to use Eminem's action figure. Whether it even got to him, I have no idea. Like maybe it was just his manager or his label was like, no, we're not. That's not. We don't want to do that. So I'm not saying Eminem said no, but it's
Yeah.
like someone in Eminem's camp said no. But I think there was two or three like that that
Yeah.
just didn't want to be in our video for whatever reason. Free advertising in a music video with your
Right.
action figure. Like
I
why
think
not?
that's cool. And were there was like, did you guys get those all from like, you know, the bands, or were those like someone's collection? Because there's a lot, man. They have like
Uh,
at least 100.
Yeah, no, I think we went out and bought them. Like I no, to tell you the truth, I didn't physically go out and buy them.
Yeah.
but
Would have
the
been
director,
expensive.
I'm sure, like yeah, some of the I'm sure some of them just got sent. Like, I'm sure some of them be like, yeah, I'd love to be in the video. Here's my doll. you know. So and you got behind you right now. We should have had Freddie in there and Beetlejuice.
Right?
Yeah, we
All
missed
of
out.
them. They're in all my base videos I do. um,
Oh, cool.
so you tour like like almost what I've noticed with trying to schedule with you tour so many months out of the year. What are some of the challenges you still find hard for you?
Yeah, I think the hard thing now, because it's a farewell tour. I don't know why after this US tour I found myself being a little bit more tired than normal after a tour, because we do long tours. We've always done long tours,
Yeah.
but I don't know why this tour seemed more draining than others. And I only could think that's the case is because there's an emotional aspect to these shows now.
Mhm.
um, like a more emotional aspect. Like shows are always emotional, and there's a lot of adrenaline, and we get a huge rush out of playing. But now with it being the farewell tour, the emotions are different because it's the last time in that city. Like every time we
Yeah.
play a show, it's the last time in that city, and it's becoming a little bit difficult to be out. Like I didn't totally expect some people to be crying in the front row as we're like walking off stage. And I've been seeing that at a lot of shows where it's like people are uh, they're emotionally distraught that we're ending. And so there's like the thrill of the show, but then there's the emotional um aspect of like seeing people crying and really upset that that's the last time they're going to see us. So I think
Yeah.
maybe that's why I'm a little bit more tired than normal, is just because it's mentally and physically draining
Oh
this
yeah.
time around, because it's the last one. And so that's kind of the biggest challenge, is trying to not be exhausted, and we're not even halfway through and I feel myself
Yeah.
being a little tired now.
And it seems like you only get like a few weeks off and you're straight back on. That's crazy, man. Like that's dedication, especially like you you guys are one of like you said one of those bands that just always tours. It's I give you guys props. It's crazy.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we've always kind of like, when we have a new album out, we've kind of like done these long tours.
Mhm.
This one feels like 2001 again, though. Like it feels like, when All Killer No Filler came out, I think we played 300 shows that year.
Dang.
It was a lot. And but at 20 years old, 21 years old, we could do it. Now that we're in our 40s, it's a little bit more difficult. But yeah,
Mhm.
we just, because this is a farewell tour, we're trying to hit all these places that we've been through our career to say goodbye. Obviously, there's going to be places that we can't and don't. There's just not enough time, and we don't. I think we don't want to make this the Elton John farewell tour either, where it's like, and nothing against Elton. I love Elton. And I saw Elton on his farewell tour. It lasted like 5 years,
And
and
like
so,
same with
I
Kiss.
think, yeah, exactly. I've seen Kiss, yeah, on their farewell tour. Yeah, yeah. Like I remember going to see Elton John. I told this story the other week. I went and saw Elton John on his farewell tour in Toronto, and literally the next day, he announced another Toronto show the following year. I was like,
You're like, man.
"Oh, Elton, this was your last show in Toronto. You don't get to come back." But he did, and he did it again. So I think for us, I don't think we wanted to really like drag it out.
Yeah.
So we're trying to hit all the places, but we're obviously apologetic that we can't hit every place.
I appreciate that it compared to like Kiss cuz like Kiss announced like 17 years ago we're finishing up guys. These are the last shows and you guys are like you guys actually compared to Kiss it took them years. We're ending December I think it was 3rd or something like that. We're done then, but you guys are like within a year you're like we're done January blah blah. I forgot the exact date, but it's in January. I admire that. Like you
Yeah,
guys gave yourself basically a year to finish up. You know, crazy. That's gonna go
yeah,
quick
yeah.
too.
It's gonna go quick, and it's gonna be in Toronto, the last one, which
Mhm.
is gonna have a
Makes sense.
whole new. It's gonna be. It's gonna be weird and crazy and a lot to process because it's like hometown show, family, friends at the arena, the hockey arena that we've never headlined in our career either. So it's a whole bunch of stuff going on
I
for
bet
that
that
show.
that hits hard because I mean, you're Canadian, so you guys have to love hockey. I mean, I assume that's against the law if you don't.
Well, then Derek should be arrested then. But
Oh,
no,
okay.
yeah, I like hockey. Derek's not so into hockey. Dave likes hockey. I think Tom likes a little hockey. Zumo, I'm not really sure about, but I think probably I'm the biggest hockey fan out of us all. But yeah, Derek's never really been into been into hockey too much.
So I'm assuming you're gonna rep like a hockey jersey on stage that night. I'm just kidding. Imagine.
No, no, but no,
Uh,
it's maybe if the team did well once in a while, I would. But
I mean, those
yeah, that's
Canadian
another
teams have
story
been
though.
well, I can't talk because the teams over here are not doing that good either. But whatever. Imagine Elton John's and you saw his last Toronto show. He sees your last Toronto show. Could happen. Imagine.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, anything's possible, but yeah, we definitely won't be announcing another Toronto show after that Toronto show. I can promise you
Hey,
that.
at least we have that. So with you guys having 8 studio records, how are you guys how's your guys' approach with this set list and how often are you guys changing it? Are you staying consistent or what's the plan with your set list?
I think it's for we've always like done a thing. It's like kind of country to country because it's
Mhm.
strange that some songs do well live in some countries, and then you go to like another country and people are like, "What is this song?"
Yeah.
So it's tricky. Like we started this whole tour in Asia, so we were kind
Mhm.
of messing around with the set list. But in Asia, we were also going to a different country every day.
Yeah.
So that was tricky. But once we got to the US and we settled into the US, I think we changed the set list a couple times at the beginning. And then once we found something that we felt worked, we just went with it in the US. Now we're going over to Europe, and some of our songs that like aren't big hits or singles are big over in Europe. So we have to figure
Mhm.
that kind of stuff out. But really
Yeah.
for this farewell tour, it's going to be a few new songs. I think we're playing 3 or 4. We're going to play obviously all the singles really, and then we're
Uh-huh.
trying to add in the fan favorite songs. But that's the tricky part is like to
Yeah.
find out for that country what is the fan favorite song, the
Yeah.
one that's not the single. So yeah, it's tricky, and we kind of we don't like dismantle our set list every show, but we take a song or two out and add something else in if we don't feel
Yeah.
like it's working. It's hard because we get a lot of requests online. People like,
Mhm.
oh, can you I really love this one song. Can you play it? And a lot of times it's like, yeah, we love that song too, but you're gonna be the only person that knows that song in a crowd of 5,000. We can't do it.
That's funny though. Um, and then is there any songs you wish you guys played more that you guys didn't?
Yeah, there's a couple songs that were kind of like sleepers, and then we've kind of brought them back. Like a song like
Yeah.
"Some Say," which was actually like a third single on Chuck. We've started playing live again, and everyone
Mhm.
really likes that song. So I'm kind of like, maybe we should have been playing "Some Say" a lot, like through the years, or a song like "No Reason" off Chuck as well, which was not a
Yeah.
single, but has become one of those fan favorite songs.
It's a good song.
We weren't always playing "No Reason." So that's probably a song that maybe, and a song like an old song like Summer.
Yeah.
Summer has become like one of the biggest songs in the set because it was on All Killer No Filler and Half Hour Power, and it has
Mhm.
that really good sing along whoa thing going on. So that we're playing that. I mean, we have been playing that nightly, and it goes
Mhm.
over really well. So maybe that's another one that's like, maybe we should have had that in the set quite a bit, like through our years. You never know.
Yeah, it's crazy to learn, like, because like I said, you guys, a lot of your stuff has stayed relevant. It's crazy to see what comes back, and you're like, man, that's like 20 years old. It's still. I wish I would have played it more now. Well, back then compared to now, it's crazy.
Yeah, and if a
And
song's not a single, then you don't always think about playing it
yeah,
because y'all, whenever you're touring, you kind of have a new album out too. So you're like,
mhm,
well, we got to play some new songs because we have a new album. So we're not going to play Summer because it wasn't a single. So, but even though it's basically a single now. Like people treat it as a single.
That's crazy. And like we talked about earlier, you have 20 new songs on this record. Are you planning to like try to play all of them, but just different places? You guys are like, oh, we're gonna do these different ones this time, and like try to get through all of them. So you play your whole discography live.
I don't know. That's going to be tough, because obviously, again, we're playing like the singles off the album, the new album.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's had this not been a farewell tour, I think we would be able to like, you know,
Yeah,
get a lot of new songs in the set at different times. But and that's kind of what we used to do, is like just like trade songs out
yeah.
sometimes, see what worked. But I don't know if we'll get through all of them, to be honest. There's
Dang.
20.
I know that's
So
and
it's a lot. Yeah.
dang, that's good. Like, that sucks because there's gonna be probably ones after the tour. You're gonna be like, man, I really wish we did that one live, but it happens, you know?
There are a few there are a few songs on the new album where I can guarantee would go over really well live.
Yeah.
But I just I there's not we're already playing almost 2 hours a night, so I just
Yeah,
don't
no.
you can't trade out Landmines or Rise Up or anything like that, because those are like kind of known songs now on the new
Mhm.
album. So yeah, and I don't think we want to add in more really, because it's a long
Yeah.
set already. So yeah, it's tricky for sure.
It's a hell of a workout for you each night, man. 2 hours is a long time to be playing bass. I give your,
Maybe that.
like, your well, I think you play at the pick, but I give your fretting hand props, man. 'Cause, like, what
Yeah,
I've
thank
learned,
you. Oh,
I've covered you. You're people like to, because 'cause I've talked about people about you, but to people, and they're like, "Well, he plays really easy stuff." No, you fucking don't. Like, I've learned your shit. It's not that easy, man. It's pretty crazy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's some easy stuff, but there's some tricky stuff. I mean, I'm no Matt Freeman, but it's like, yeah, there's some stuff that's like not the easiest. Maybe that's why I'm so tired, because we've been playing 2 hours every night. I don't know.
That too, man. I mean, as I learned as you get older, you get tired, man. It's just how it works. You don't have that energy at 20 anymore. It sucks, but whatever. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll never forget I saw you guys in Irvine, and I wrote you, like, on your, Instagram. I was like, "Dude, it's crazy because only thing you can hear is, I think, Derek's vocals and your bass." And I was like, "And if only everyone can understand you do play crazy bass." I remember typing that, "You do play crazy bass lines." It was crazy, man. As a bass player, I
What
admired it. I
show?
was like, it was, when you
Oh,
guys played a Simple Plan and Offspring. That was,
oh,
last
so
year.
last summer.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
remember
last.
texting
Yeah,
Rob from Bowling for Soup, and I told him, I was like, "Dude, it's just all bass. It's so sick." And he's like, "Their sound guy must be off tonight then." It was cool.
yeah, that's strange. Yeah, that's really strange. I don't know why that would have been.
Yeah, like, I don't know if it's just
I
'cause
don't know.
the side well, I was standing in the middle because I was in the pit, and I was like, "Dude, it's just all" for me as a bass player, I was like, "Oh, yes, finally not just guitars." You know?
I might have tipped our sound guy a little bit that day or something, like,
Yeah,
it's a LA show. Jack me up a little bit.
us bass players loved it, so I'm just letting you know
Yeah.
that.
Okay, cool. Hopefully I played good.
Um
I don't know.
You did. So you've done so many tours. Do you have any tour rituals?
Um, Not really. I think, in my earlier days, I
Mhm.
really didn't care about like going out in the cities and seeing stuff. So I don't. It's not really a ritual, but I've made a conscious effort, probably in the last 8 years, to like really like go out in every city, like just to walk around and see stuff, like especially like
Yeah,
you know in Europe and Asia and stuff like that. It's like stuff that you don't like. I can go down to the States anytime and see whatever,
yeah,
but it's when you're going to like Europe and Asia, Australia, all these places further away, and it's places with a lot of history, that I'm just really trying to like take it in more, and
mhm,
just walk around, see some old sites and stuff like that. Whereas in my 20s, I could give a shit. Like I was, I could care less about an old cathedral in Munich or whatever.
yeah.
I That didn't do anything for me. It's like where's the bar and what are we eating tonight?
That's fun.
But now I do all of that plus sightseeing.
Dang, that's pretty cool though. I mean, you guys are a different, like you said, different country every day at one point on this tour. So that's crazy. That's cool though. Is there anything you've seen so far that you haven't seen before that you're like, man, that's so cool?
Yeah, I there is some cities that we've been to already, like especially in Asia.
Mm,
We went to a city, um, Yogyakarta in Indonesia. We've been there. There's a couple cities in China we'd never been before. So yeah, it's kind of cool. Like 25 years into touring, that you're still going to new places.
that's crazy.
So yeah, it's pretty wild, and I love touring over there, and I love touring in Europe a lot, and Japan's like my favorite. So yeah, I there's always new stuff to see, really. Even if you've
Mm,
been to a place 10 times, because like I said, I didn't used to go out and see stuff before.
yeah.
So now I'm like, oh, the city has all this cool stuff that I just neglected.
All I knew about the bars and what we're gonna eat that night. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah. I knew all the restaurants and bars, but not about the cool other stuff.
The cathedrals, they don't have a bar inside. I'm just kidding. Um,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
does your day to day look
Go to the
like
bar
on
after.
tour?
Well, Dave and I are definitely the latest up. I'm pretty much the last to bed
Yeah.
on the bus, and Dave and I are the last up. I don't really in the morning on tour. There's nothing for me. Like I'm like, why am I gonna get up at? There's nothing to do. Like there's sound check's not till 2,
Yeah.
and I don't eat breakfast, so I try and stay up late so I can sleep in, and I wake up, and sound check is probably right around
Mm,
the corner, so hit that, and then I do have a radio show too, so I work
mm,
on that a little bit after sound check. um, if there's something to see in that city, I'll go out and see it, or like if I find a record store I want to go to, or a clothing
yeah.
store I want to go to, I'll go do that. But there is some downtime between sound check and show. There's like this chunk
Yeah.
of 6 hours where you just have to find something to do, and that's what I've been trying to do, is just kind of work and do my radio show and get that done. So if I have a day
Yeah.
off on tour, I don't have to be stuck in my hotel room doing it.
I know you interview a lot of bands and musicians. Do you interview while you're on tour, or do you get a bunch done before you go on tour?
Yeah, I prefer to do it at home before a tour, because
Yeah.
when you get into going overseas, like I'm going to Europe, trying to coordinate that, as me and you were trying to coordinate this, it
Mhm.
was difficult, and I was in the U.S. So if I'm in Europe or Asia or something, it's just almost impossible to coordinate time. So I try and get all my interviews done
Mm,
before tour. I've done a couple on the road just because I had to. Like it was like the only
mm,
time, like because other bands obviously tour too. So
yeah.
they a lot of bands want to do it while they're home and off. So it's yeah, it's become difficult, as you know, to schedule
Mhm.
interviews, especially
Especially
when
with
I'm on
people at
tour. So
tour.
I try. Yeah, I mean, one of the hardest things is, well, I try and just to get 5 or 6 done before I go on tour, just so I know,
Mm,
I'm like, because it's once a week, and I go away for
yeah.
about 5 weeks. So if I can get like 4 or 5 in the bag, then I feel good. So while I'm home, I'm not really off. You know,
Yeah.
when I'm off tour, I'm kind
True.
of like still doing this thing, but I love it. So I'm not complaining about it.
I'm surprised with you guys touring. Like you got you and like Derek and like you guys don't have your own podcast talking about like you guys as a whole because some people know your story, but some people don't know your story. I'm surprised you guys haven't done
Yeah,
something like that.
um, we had actually talked about that not too long ago, about doing like a Sum 41 podcast. Like I guess it would
Mhm,
be more like me, Dave, and Derek, and talking about like recording All Killer. I think this was around the anniversary of All Killer or
mhm,
something, but I don't know why. We were all talking about it. And we're like, yeah, let's do it, and then all of a sudden we didn't do it. And so, but we were talking about some kind of, not an ongoing podcast, but kind of just
yeah,
like a podcast style thing about All Killer, and maybe Does Look Infected, and talk about the album, talk about that
yeah.
time, and but yeah, maybe we should revisit that.
I think a
Good
lot of
idea.
people would enjoy that. That's one of so many people's
Yeah,
favorite record. I think you guys that'd be cool. Um, you guys are a
yeah.
band that were around during the TRL days. which I remember that was like one of my favorite times. Is there any videos that were your favorite that you guys put out?
Oh yeah. I think, I mean, all of them back then were pretty different and cool. Like,
Yeah.
like we're talking about the Hillsong video. That was kind of groundbreaking for the time because every video was so on MTV. Every video was so expensive and so overblown, and so a lot of production behind videos back then. And we decided to come out with this cheap figurine video thing
Mm.
that cost hardly any money. So I think that was a groundbreaking video. But I think my favorite video, if I was to like still go back, I mean, obviously the In Too Deep video stands alone on
Mm.
its own,
Of
but I think
course.
still waiting for me
Oh yeah.
is good because it's simple,
Hmm.
but the intro, like with Will Sasso, uh, still makes me crack up. And if you go look at like the outtakes of that intro with Will Sasso, some of it's even more funny than the actual video. So that was a good memory. I have a good memory of doing that video, and just how simple it was too. It's just a really performance video,
Yeah.
and that's it. So I don't know. I love that video because I also love that song a lot. Like it's
Mm.
still one of my favorite songs.
A great song. That that's one of my favorite videos, and Fat Lip's always gonna be one of my favorite videos that you guys did. That must have been a fun video to do, to be honest with you.
Fat Lip was a good video because it was one of those videos. The treatments were it was a non-treatment treatment. It was
Yeah.
basically Pomona, California, in those days was like the only city in the U.S. that we could actually headline a show.
Dang.
Like we couldn't really headline a big show in Toronto, but Pomona, for whatever reason, at this place called the Glass House, we could
Down
headline
the
our
street from my
own
house.
show in Pomona, California. It was crazy, yeah. So we decided, well, if we're going to shoot this video for Fat Lip, we should do it in
Mhm.
Pomona because we have some fans there. Great.
Mm.
And so we just basically put out this thing, just like anyone wants to come to the new Sum 41 video. And all those people that showed up were like, those were like fans of ours from Pomona. And all we did was like, we're just going to set up a place to play.
Mhm.
And the director is just going to film anything that happens with anybody. Like, obviously there was like, we're going to shave that girl's head. That was
Yeah.
kind of a little bit of a, that was kind of on the spot though. That was like, okay, who wants to get their head shaved? And she was like, I do. And it was like stuff like that. So it wasn't like there was no treatment really. Like we're gonna shave a girl's head. That came up on the spot, and all that stuff came up on
Yeah.
the spot. Like the guy going down the hill and the Tupperware. That's all stuff that just happened on the spot. So that's why I love that video for that reason because we didn't have
Yeah.
any idea of what we were gonna do. We are just gonna show up and let our fans do whatever they want to do, and our director was just gonna film it.
That's crazy, man. Cause the glass house is like 10 minutes from my house, man. So that's crazy to know you guys like did that video right there. I never knew that until now. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, right. From
And being a band that formed in the 90s, how have you guys adapted in a forever changing industry?
Oh, well, yeah, I think like every band, like we had to kind of just go through the realization that albums don't sell anymore, that everything's online and streamed, and um, it also became a thing where we were talking about these videos like from the early 2000s, and they were expensive videos. They
Mhm.
cost a lot of money. So then it comes a time where it's like, well, MTV is no longer playing videos, and this new thing called YouTube has come in, and you can put your own videos up there. You can make your own videos. So that was a big change for everybody, and obviously record companies didn't want to give a lot of money for videos anymore. So then became a thing of trying to come up with these really brilliant video ideas for the
Mm.
fraction of the price now. Like you come up with a video idea that's like, oh wow, that's a great idea. Well, that's going to cost $300,000 though. We can't do that anymore. So that's tricky, like coming up with like video ideas and trying to make the budget work, trying to make
Yeah.
these cheap videos, but be good still. Um, I mean, for us recording music, we've always we all got really good home studios now, so that was always it was fine. Like we would go do our drums. For the last couple albums, we would just go do drums at a studio,
Yeah.
and then we could record our parts in our own studios at our houses. So we were able to navigate through that because obviously budgets for recordings were going down too. But you know, we were pretty all of us, like Dave, Derek, especially Derek, we're all pretty well versed in recording. Like we all produce other bands, we all do that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. So we kind of know our way around studios. Derek definitely does. So that recording was never an issue for us. It was more like the other stuff, like just learning about this new thing called Instagram and this new thing called TikTok. All this stuff that had come out that you just have to like be a part of all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Was just it was just I think the music industry in the last 20 years is probably the it's changed the most since the music industry has been around. I think
No,
it
yeah,
seems
I
like
agree.
it's like with the internet and with downloading. Like back in the early days, there was like obviously 8 track, and then there was vinyl and cassettes, and then CDs. But this has been the biggest change for sure. The music industry scene with pretty much all streaming, and then everyone's like, "Oh fuck, I like vinyl again."
Mhm.
It's like now vinyl's coming back, so you got streaming and vinyl. It's kind of strange, and now no one wants CDs,
That's
and
the weird
uh, and
part.
then there's all these yeah, and then there's all this social media stuff that you have to worry about. Um, yeah, it's for us as a band, I think we let our management more and our record label worry about that. Like we say, like, oh, there's a new thing called this. Okay, yeah, make us an account, we'll do it. So like, as a band, we're like, I don't even think our band has a TikTok account. We might. I don't. I don't think I've ever seen it or been on it, but for the longest time, we
You
were
never
like,
know.
what are we gonna do on
I mean,
So yeah,
you
it's
guys
been
could post about touring because you guys are touring consistently. A lot of bands do that. You guys could post about touring.
yeah, but then we'd have to actually do that.
True. But you do have those
we
6 hours to
yeah
kill that you talked about. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
yeah. Here's the other thing that I think with our band, and we haven't actually talked about this, but I feel like with our band, we grew up in an era of like kind of privacy, like
Yeah.
like we grew up in the '90s where you didn't really know what Kurt Cobain was having for dinner that day. Like you didn't really know where Chris Cornell was on vacation, or like all these bands that we liked. Like, so I think we're just part of that older school mentality of like we don't need to post, you know, where I am today and what I'm doing at every minute of every day. We kind of like a little bit of privacy in our life. Like I use
Yeah.
Instagram, of course, and everyone does in the band, but it's really about promoting stuff that we're
Yeah.
doing rather than like, hey, look at went to the keg in Toronto today. Look at my meal. Yeah, I I just don't see a benefit in that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I respect that, like, cause a lot of bands do, "Hey, look at what we have in catering today," like,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
you don't
I
have
mean,
to
to
do.
each their own. It's not to each their own, but I don't see like I know for a fact Derek's a very private person. I'm definitely private as well, where I don't want to post my whole life online. We don't find it necessary to post our lives online.
I feel you. And so with this band being you guys are on your final tour. Are you thinking of like reforming Operation MD or working in another band? Or are you gonna focus on producing? What's your goal after this?
This is the $1,000,000 question. I don't know. I well, for me, I think this year is so busy
Mhm.
with our tour that my brain is so consumed with what I'm doing next for Sum 41 that I don't
Yeah.
really want to go down the road yet of like, what am I going to do after Sum 41?
Mhm.
Of course, there's a couple like little things in the back of my mind. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, we talked about I have a radio show. Maybe I can expand on that. I haven't even thought about
Mhm.
expanding it, but maybe there's time to do that. And I have always produced bands on off times, and now
Mhm.
I'm going to have lots of off times. So if something, I don't really go looking for bands all the time either, but bands seem to fall in my lap. So maybe a band will fall in my lap when this is all done. These are all things that like could happen. I haven't really strongly thought about these kind of things yet. Yeah, sure. Like would I tour again? 100%. I love touring. I love playing. If a
Mhm.
band came along that was like needed a fill in or something for a
Yeah.
tour, of course I'd be happy. If I was friends with them and it made sense for me to do that, then I would be into that. Like I still want to play. I'm not retiring
Yeah.
from music whatsoever. So yeah, I think things like that will probably come up. I just don't know what and when.
Mhm.
And I just want to focus. Like I just want to. I want this last tour for Sum 41 to be the best it can be. So I want to focus only on that right now.
Yeah. That makes sense though. And with you saying if a like a fill-in gig did fall in your lap, is there any band you would love to play bass for?
Oh, there's lots. There's tons. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. There's lots. We have lots of friends now.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I couldn't single out one, but yeah, I think there's tons of friends we have now
Mhm.
in bands, and um, I think any one of us in Sum 41 would be up for doing stuff like that
Yeah.
because we all still love music and still love playing. So
And then going back to your radio show, is there any, like, guests your, like, bucket list for you, like, that you would love to interview that hasn't happened yet so far? Because 'Cause you've interviewed a lot
yeah,
of cool people.
yeah, yeah. Like I would take a stab at Johnny Rotten probably.
Okay.
That would be an interesting one. Maybe Marky Ramone. Uh, I'm we did a song with Iggy Pop back
Mhm.
in 2003. I'd love to try and have him on one day if you could. Um, there's lots like, but I've had a lot of great guests. I'm actually
Mhm.
I was looking through my list of guests I've had in the last 2 years because I've been doing it about 2 years,
Mhm.
and it's way exceeded what I ever thought the show was. Like I never thought that I'd have like Dave Davies from the Kinks on my show or Cheetah Chrome from the Dead Boys or anyone like that. Like I've had some bigger people than I ever imagined I could. So if I was to end this tomorrow, I'd be pretty proud of this show, what I was able to do. And it was just like a quick idea I had, and I was like,
Mhm.
I want to do a radio show, and so I just kind of like tried to make it happen during the pandemic. And so yeah, but yeah, there's still lots of people I'd love to interview. Fat
You
Mike,
definitely
Fat
have a
Mike's
hell of
got
a
to come on.
resume with that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's been fun.
Well,
This is fun.
it is fun. And, like, you have, like, a lot of tattoos like I do. Is there any that you've gotten on tour that are, like, a milestone tattoo for you? Like, something that for some 41 or any band you've been in?
Yeah. Well, in 2004, our band went to the Congo. You probably know the story. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. Well, we were caught in kind of like we went to do a documentary in the Congo, 2004. There had been a civil war there prior, and 3 million people had died in Africa. It was like the worst war in African history. So we went to do a documentary on that. We got
Mhm.
caught. The war started again. There was like to make a long story short, there was a rebel group that started this thing by the border and blah blah blah. We got caught in a hotel. We had to be evacuated by tanks. So I got this this guy named Chuck Peltier, who was from Victoria, BC, he was kind of he was part of the UN. He was like a peacekeeper over there, and he was in our hotel, and he helped us escape. Like he orchestrated the tanks to come and evacuate the hotel and get everyone to safety to the UN. And so on top of all this war stuff that had happened, we also went on the trip and we also went on a excursion and saw silverback gorillas. So I got this tattoo from the Congo. It's kind of like, Chuck always wore this helmet,
Mhm.
when we were kind of being evacuated. And so I made like the silverback gorilla, and he was always smoking a cigar. It's like he's smoking a cigar, silverback gorilla, and Chuck's helmet, and it says DRC for Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Yeah, that's pretty
That's
cool.
probably my most personal tattoo, really.
Dang. That's pretty cool. Yeah, because you have quite a bit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so being someone in the industry for quite a while, was there anything that you would still love to accomplish?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure there's always stuff. I think for me, there's just places that we haven't been. I mean, I always think of our favorite time, our whole band, and we'll probably all say it is we love to play. So like
Mhm.
that we I think Derek said it many times in interviews. It's like doing an album, recording an album is like a vehicle for us just to go out and play, to go out and
Yeah.
play live. That's kind of how I feel too. Is I love to play live, and so there's places that we haven't been. Like I was talking about Iceland before. Never been to
Mhm.
Iceland. There's places in South America we haven't been. There's places like India we've never toured. So there is some places that unfortunately this band won't get to go to.
Yeah.
Um, but as for like other things, I mean, I'm not. It's people talk about awards and stuff like that. Of course, it's like it's nice to get a nominated for an award or nominated for a
Yeah.
Grammy or in Canada Juno, but it doesn't really sit in my mind. It's not like a thing like, oh, I hope this album gets nominated for a Grammy. I've never thought of that once. I don't
Yeah.
like that's not a deal to me. Like, sure, if we got nominated, I'd be like, oh, well, that's really cool, great. But if we get a show in Iceland, I'd be like, fuck, we're going to Iceland. Like that would make me excited, or India, or anywhere like that. So
Yeah.
I think it's that's something that unfortunately we won't get to do that I've always wanted to do.
Dang. Well, maybe you'll accomplish it after some 41, or maybe you'll just vacation there or something. That'd be cool. You never know.
I plan on going there at some point for sure.
Is there any advice you would give your younger self?
Um, good question. Um, I don't know. There was probably as every band and every relationship with bands, I'm sure there was some arguments in our band that were probably meaningless in
Mm.
hindsight. You know, like we've been friends for so long. Like we all met in Dave, Derek, and I anyway, and our old drummer Steve met in ninth grade. So we've known each other since we were 13 years old. So we know each other really well. We grew up together. We were friends before the band,
Mhm.
which is very rare in band history. So I think obviously like any cliche brotherhood a band is. There was arguments, and I'd probably say like advice to like being in a band, not just me, but my younger
Mhm.
self. I would say like don't sweat the little things, all these little things that'll happen in a band. Really, in the grand scheme of things, are meaningless, and just look at the bigger picture and have fun and just play and have fun. That's it. Just like don't worry about these little things that are going to happen as a band. You'll get over it. And as we did, we went through so many. Our, our career has been such a roller coaster of like being great, and then we've been at this high thing, and then we've had such extreme lows as well, and now I feel like we're back at a little bit of a high. We all feel good. We all get along. We're all having fun on this farewell tour. So you're always going to go through that in life, just in general. So I mean, don't sweat the little things. That's probably what I would tell a young band.
That's great advice. And you guys have put out some incredible records. In your opinion, how would you rank them from best to your least favorite record you guys put out?
Ooh, that's a hard question too. Oh God. Well, I would probably go. Does this look infected? Number one. I go Heaven and Hell second. Just it's fresh, so I'm excited about it, and this all might change in a year from now. But I definitely love the new album. I'm excited about it, so I go that number two. Maybe maybe Chuck third. All Killer maybe fourth. Underclass Hero maybe fifth. Half Hour Power sixth. Maybe Order and Decline seventh, and nothing against 13 Voices. I like 13 Voices, but I guess that's maybe my least favorite. I'm not sure. I haven't gone back and listened to those Order and Decline and
Yeah.
13 Voices albums in a long time, so those might change. But off the top of my head, that's kind of the order right now.
Yeah, but it's a good list. And Sum 41 basically is like a pioneer of this genre, in my opinion. What's your Mount Rushmore for this genre, in your opinion?
Mount Rushmore meaning what's the best band?
Yeah, your best bands for, I guess, what they're for. There's four faces on the Mount Rushmore, something like that.
Oh, okay, I see. Our four. Four best bands in our genre.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if I can include ourselves, but I'll give
You
you.
can if you
Well,
want.
I mean,
It's your
obviously,
opinion.
obviously, obviously, Green Day. Um, they're just unbelievable. Like a band that had such a success in '94, was like basically the biggest band in the world in '94, and then did it again in 2004. Became the biggest band again in 2004. So you can never count Green Day out. They're always going to come up with something good. So they're definitely up there. I mean, The Offspring. I mean, those are really good friends of ours. I love The Offspring. There's such, like, Dexter's such a versatile writer where he could write like a really great punk song, and then he can
Mhm.
also write like a pop song like Pretty Fly for a White Guy, where it's like he's just so versatile as a writer, he kind of do it all. Well, Rancid.
Oh yeah,
I Rancid for sure.
gotta
And
say
then it's tough. Or I mean, go Bad Religion,
that'd be
but
sick.
it's a tough one. Like
That's a good one.
I could go Bad Religion. I could go No Effects. I could go. Fuck, there's so many. But yeah, let's say Bad Religion then.
Yeah, that's a solid four for sure. All great bands. All killer,
Might
no
have to
filler,
add more
right?
might have to add more faces to the mountain though. There's like because No Effects deserves to be on there, and I think
Yeah.
Social Distortion deserves to be on there. There's too many.
Oh, I agree. And then, so you guys released Heaven and Hell. Where can everyone keep up with you guys and buy the new record?
Well, sum41.com, obviously Instagram, sum41. I'm at official Cone McCaslin. The other guys are under their own names. And that's it. All of our dates up on sum41.com right now are not all the dates we're doing. There's still more being added. So we get messages like, please come, blah blah blah. It's like we're working on it. So uh, all the dates you see up online are not. That's not the end. There's more. And so, but yeah, there's a lot of dates up on sum41.com right now. So
Awesome.
follow along there.
And thank you for being on my show. I appreciate all the time you've given me.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm going to end the show. See everyone next interview.